Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here for Spirit Matters, your daily Bhakti Standard podcast. I'm your tri-host, Dayal Gurunga, with my other tri-hosts, Achyuta Gopi and Kishore Chandra. I just made up that term, tri-host, and we're glad that you're with us. Thanks so much for being here. This is the first time the band is back together. The crew is in one place at one time, coming at you live in New York, although we're in different places. We're in one Zoom room. Kishore's been on vacation in Brazil. At least that's what he told us. Achyuta Gopi has been in and out with a Kirtan festival on the West Coast in Utah, and now we're all here back together. How you doing, Kishore?
Martha said in the comments that I look very relaxed, and that is true. I'm very relaxed, very chill. Happy to be here.
Achyuta?
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here. So where we left off was this idea that we were talking about relationships, and we were wondering if they have any place in our spiritual life. And Achyuta Gopi and I determined that they don't. Actually, that's not true. That's not true. That's not where we landed. But we told Kishore that, and he was like, "What have you guys been doing since I've been gone?" And we said, we sort of went off the rails without you. There was no devil's advocate, no one to keep us in check, and we just took it and ran with it. But now that Kishore's back, we're gonna bring balance back to the force, and see where we land. And this is what we wanted to discuss. It's something that's rich, and it's something that, and I'll sort of I'll throw some fodder out there for us to digest. Is It's something that you don't discuss once and then move on, because relationships are constantly shifting in our life. The nature of the relationships shift in our life, the friendships that we have, the partnerships that we have, the family relationships that we have. And I think that navigating the place that various relationships have in our life is something that never goes stale. And I think it particularly gets challenging in spiritual life, because we're going through so many personal shifts, and that naturally affects the relationships around us. So assessing the place that relationships have in our life is something that I think is always relevant and always something to assess and figure out. Um, so that's what we got. That's where we're going this morning. You guys got a place in my life. That's all I know. And everybody here on our live Zoom room. So thank you. Anna says in the chat that Kishore's got the Latin American glow, a tropics glow. He does. He's always kind of got that. It's in a pigment of his skin. He's glowing.
Yes. I think when it comes to relationships, I just spent the past week and a half, almost 2 weeks, in a very condensed container of relationship, because I have a long distance relationship, unfortunately. And it was really beautiful and really interesting. And so I'm glad we're kind of starting with this, because I've been thinking a lot about relationship and its place in life and everything. And I think that one of the biggest takeaways for me, both in my time in Brazil with my partner, and also my mom picked me up at the airport yesterday morning, and I spent the whole morning with her, and it was really beautiful and interesting. And I think it's this idea of feeling comfortable and safe enough to not feel like you have to be measuring up all the time. Because I think that there's this idea that we have to show up 100%, 110%, 150% all the time. And I don't know about all of you, but that's exhausting. When I went on vacation, I realized how exhausted I was from convincing myself that I had to show up 150% all the time to every relationship. And of course, that wasn't sustainable. And I noticed the cracks in certain relationships, or with certain people, with people that maybe I felt more comfortable with just being. I noticed the cracks starting to happen. And I just realized you know what, I can't, you say this a lot, but I can't be everything to everyone all the time. I can't be everything for everyone all the time. people aren't going to find what they're looking for in me. That's Krishna. And therefore, it's like I can show up as best I can to the relationship, and I can do the work that needs to be done and all of that stuff. But I don't know. I feel like now that I just said that word, I feel like there's all this like verbiage around like work. It's like I have to work on this relationship, and I have to work on this thing, and I have to work, 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 work. And I spent the last almost 2 weeks not working. And let me tell you, there is a lot of wisdom to be found in just being and just rest and just like settling and letting time do its thing. Like I hadn't seen my mother for like a month and a half for some strange reason. Well, no, not some strange reason, some family drama. And just like taking some space and then coming back to her after the trip, it was like so beautiful. It was so nice, it was so refreshed, it was renewed. And yeah, I'm kind of in this space of just like maybe things don't need to be worked on all the time. Like maybe there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom to be taken from space, from rest, from just letting things be. Things don't have to be fixed all the time. This mentality of having to like I have to fix this, I have to fix this problem, I have to fix this relationship, I have to fix this person. Oof, that's dangerous territory. And I remember, I'll end with this because I've been talking a lot, but I remember in my own relationship, my partner relationship, there was a lot of stuff at the beginning that I felt like I had to fix, and he felt that he had to fix in me.
Mm.
And that's just not a great mentality to have. It doesn't lead anywhere productive or happy or safe. And I think just being able to kind of show up in your relationships for each other with like complete, and this is the hard part, complete acceptance of where the other person is at and not taking it personally, I think is like the hard part. And then that's the onus is kind of on me. Can I do this? Can I show up for this person with acceptance for where they're at? And does it fit with my boundaries in my life? Maybe it doesn't. And then I'm okay, I'm going to need to boundary this a little bit more. And maybe it does. And it's like, okay, cool. I guess we can do this, mom or brother or whatever.
Mm.
But that's where I'm at.
What if the other person really does need fixing, though? No, I'm just kidding.
Mm.
Um,
I have something I can read for that.
Send
Oh,
them
go
to
ahead.
stop.
I really love what you were saying, and as I was thinking and reflecting on it, it's so true. Um, even planets slow down. Celestial heavenly bodies, even they slow down. And you have to be able to have the space just to be, the space to not have to have an immediate answer or an immediate controlling fix for a situation. Being able to rest in that, I feel like, is like the first step towards surrender.
Mm.
And life is not always about learning where to adjust, but also learning where to surrender, where to just like fold into it. And I feel like that's what I've always liked about yoga. Yoga teaches you not just where to strengthen your muscles, but where to surrender, where to breathe into something, where to understand that, okay, this is the nature of this. It's uncomfortable right now. It won't always be. Maybe today, tomorrow, this week, it's uncomfortable. And next week, as you continue to do it, it's just not. And I like that idea because we really don't focus on that enough. And when those times come for us to slow down and just be immediately, we're like, okay, what's wrong? What's wrong? What needs to be fixed? What is this? And I often find myself asking, people in relationships, like, and giving the advice. It's like, take the win. Take the win.
Mm.
It's like, what's wrong right now? It's like, well, nothing, and that's what's giving me pause. I'm like, why? Take the win.
Mm.
We don't always have to wait for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
We can slow down and just be. So I really appreciate that point.
Can I read something that I just saw yesterday or this morning related to this? Um, there's an account that I follow on social media that I really appreciate about She labels herself as a codependency recovery coach, and I really like that concept. She shared something that sometimes we want to fix people not because we care too much, but because fixing people is a way to ensure that they won't let us down. And she writes in her little caption that I don't think it's untrue that many people pleasers want what's best for our loved ones. Of course, we want them to be happy, healthy, content. I believe this genuine desire for their goodwill coexists alongside the truth that for many of us, quote unquote, fixing other people is also about ensuring that our own needs get met. The thinking goes if we fix their addiction or fix their emotional unavailability or fix their troubled relationships with others or fix their financial woes, they won't just be in a better place. They'll be more available to us, able to give us attention, affection, able to see us, hear us, be with us, able to love us. Perhaps they'll even need us. This attitude prevents many of us from identifying friends and partners who can actually need us where we need to be met, meet us where we need to be met. We might blow past emotional unavailability or red flags willingly, thinking I can fix them. And so I think it's so much like, for example, sometimes we think about feedback that somebody needs, or shoot to mention jokingly, like, what if somebody actually needs fixing? And I think that's, I mean, we all need quote unquote fixing. There's all a level of brokenness that we're all working through. The question is, what's my place in that, and where am I coming from? And sometimes seeing something that needs to be adjusted doesn't necessarily mean it's my place to step in and adjust it, especially if I'm not coming from a place of genuinely wanting what's best for the other person. And it gets mixed up a whole lot in there. And and I've shared this a lot. Like, I've spent several years in Al-Anon and ACOA programs, and Al-Anon is a program for people specifically dealing with alcoholic loved ones, where the idea is like, I just want them to get better. But then it's actually, well, like, wait a minute, like, how is this affecting your life? And let's get your happiness in place first, and recognizing that the other person's behavior doesn't need to change in order for you to be happy. And so it's like, do I feel like I need to fix or change or adjust another person? And if it's coming from a place of like, I can't be happy unless such and such changes, of course I care for their goodwill, then there's probably little housework that I need to do before moving forward. And so I think it's just a great exercise in self-assessment and motivation. And I love how she blends that it's not one or the other, but there's a blend of like genuinely wanting what's best for them, and also noticing that, like, yeah, I also want what's best for me. And your behavior, or your quote unquote brokenness, or your how you are is getting in the way of that. And when we don't acknowledge that, it can get sticky.
Yes, I agree with all of that. And I think what it boils down to, because you brought up this point so nicely, Doyal, in that quote, is trying to have control over the situation, over other people, over how they're going to play XYZ role in my life, how I'm going to then be this person who has this person playing this role in my life. And it's a lot of like puppeteering
Mm,
and trying to be the controller. It's a lot of trying to be God, trying to be Krishna. and
totally.
and Achyuta Gopi said this, and this is what I've been feeling. I just maybe, yeah, I haven't like sat and written things down yet. But Achyuta Gopi brought up this word of surrender. And it's like the main feeling that I've been feeling lately is just like, everything's gonna be okay. Like, even if it's not okay, it's gonna be okay. And I think that I'm thinking, of course, of one of the main teachings of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharmam Parityaja, which is this beautiful verse at the end of Bhagavad Gita where, you
Mm,
know, just to give context, Krishna has been giving different paths of yoga and different methodologies of how to, reach transcendence and etc. Arjuna's going through them, realizing how difficult they are, how hard they are, how they're not, etc. And Krishna at the end says, abandon all of these, actually. Like, this trying to be in control, trying to get something out of it, this karma, this all of this stuff, this trying to be, have all this knowledge, abandon all of it, like, just surrender unto me. And and don't fear. And I
Yeah.
think that that's the hardest thing to do. It's like, because at least for me, like my anxiety of like pre-vacation was just control. It's like, if I don't do this, then this isn't going to happen. Or if I don't, finances, if I don't, then this is going to happen. Or relationship, if I don't fix this, then this is going to happen. Or any aspect of life, it's like, well, then this is going to happen. And it's like, okay, how can I start to loosen the control of that and actually start to, what's the word, invest
Mm.
in the real relationship, in the most real relationship that I have, which is my relationship with divinity. And that's where, that's where the surrender is going to happen. That's where like me moving out of anxiety and fear is going to happen. Because I think that the biggest thing is we lie to ourselves and convince ourselves that if I can fix other people, or if I can fix the situation, or if I can quote unquote fix my life, if I can do it. And
Mm.
a lot of propaganda in society is about this, right? If I can do it, then that means I don't have to fear anymore. That means I don't have anxiety anymore. That means I've won at life. And it's like we know that that's not true. We see it in people,
Mm.
who have tons of money. Like everyone is still afraid, everyone is still in anxiety, everyone is still depressed. And it's like that element of surrender, of reconnecting with divinity, that's the actual, this is the word that's coming to mind, but that's the actual work. That's like the actual thing that I need to invest in.
Mm.
But I want to
Mm.
hear Achuta's take on this, because she brought up surrender.
Mm.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, when you're able to enter into one of these relationships, especially when we feel as though somebody needs fixing, or you see somebody that could use some help, or even they approach you with this cry for help,
Mm.
if we're able to do it, and we kind of brought up this theme last week. It's like, if you're able to help them the way you would lend money,
Mm.
then that might be able to tell you something. If you're able to lend it without expecting it back, you wind up being a happier person, which means you had it to be able to give, lend. You're able to do your duty without the expectation of the results.
Mm.
You're able to leave the results up to Krishna, and it's no longer this desperate trying to fix someone so that they'll turn around and love us so fully.
Mm.
If we're able to fix them without the expectation that, and then they're going to turn around and adore us and love us, and it's going to be amazing, and we're going to have this relationship, and they're going to give me everything that I've ever wanted. If we're able to do that without the expectation of return, then we've actually got it to give. If we don't have it to give, we just need to re-examine our place. Just need to re-examine what we can give. We just might not have that capacity right now. And I think that that's important for us to know, because those expectations can be heavy. Getting our hopes up can be so heavy. And it's hard not to get the hopes up and to get caught up in the swell and the romance and the everything. Um, but when it's, especially when it comes to those sticky situations, we have to look at it like, do I have this money to lend? And Doyle, you were saying, you're like, somebody comes like, I need $50. You're like, I only have 10.
Mm.
I don't actually have what you need. And
But I'm
when we
gonna go into
start,
debt and take a loan and get that to you ASAP.
right, when we start doing that emotionally, then we are expecting somebody to rebound and give us everything else. And maybe that was not part of this initial emotional contract.
Yeah.
And I never like looking at it like emotional contracts, but it really is.
Yeah.
It really is an emotional contract, and we have to, it's so important for us to look at our own bank accounts and see what's in there, what we have to give, and if we can give it freely.
Mm. I love that sentiment so much, and it's a beautiful meditation. Um, I just want to read. There's this last part of this caption I was reading from this post that speaks to that. I think where she's saying these oversized estimations of what we can control do us no favors. Many of us benefit from cutting out the middle step, from cutting out trying to fix others into to meet our needs, and simply asking ourselves, How can I meet my needs instead? Or how can I find friends and partners who are already capable of meeting my needs rather than finding people then and seeing, okay, you're a person, now I need to mold you in such a way to like fill my needs. And I think, as you mentioned, Achuta, is that recognizing these emotional contracts, not liking the sound of that term, but the reality is that we sign emotional contracts constantly. We just keep them discreet and don't share them and don't give people editing access. It's like it's just and then when somebody doesn't follow through, like, well, you didn't fulfill the contract. She's like, I didn't even know we had a contract. And you're like, I actually didn't realize I had a contract either, but like I was definitely expecting all of us to follow through with it. And so for me it just becomes all of a heightened sense of real self-awareness, whether it's why we're doing something, what we're needing from somebody, what we have to give, etc. And with all of that said, we are at the end of our time today, and I want to hear from Kimberly what she's taken away with us, and then we can ask each of us to take a take home, and then we'll see where we go with what we're taking away with. What do you got for us, Kimberly?
Thank you. So today I'm taking away that we can't be everything for everyone all the time.
Yeah,
Um, take the win, and even planets slow down. So we need to plan to slow down ourselves.
beautiful. Kishore and Achuta, what's something you're walking away with?
Yeah, that definitely that last point about uh, emotional contracts and really um, being kind of at home with ourselves. We rephrase things so much into some package that sounds better, and we don't honestly look at, okay, what is it that I desire? We're so busy, especially sometimes as spiritualists, thinking that desires are bad, that we're not actually looking at what it is we really desire. And when we're looking at what it is we desire, maybe we desire companionship, maybe we desire understanding, maybe we desire a lessening of our own loneliness. Maybe and so all looking at all of those needs helps us to figure out, okay, now what is it that I am even underneath the surface? What am I looking for from this person? And sometimes when we find those people that we are not look that we don't need to fix them and they don't need us to fix them, and you enter on a totally different level of that emotional contract, it starts to feel incredibly fresh and freeing, instead of thinking, all right, well, I've entered in with this project in mind. um and so I want to take home that, like, people are people, not projects.
Mm, thank you.
Can I have all of Achuta's same takeaways because they were so good? I think, especially this one of just feeling at home with yourself, and the word that came to my mind is just, yeah, like feeling comfortable with who you are, feeling comfortable with what you need, feeling comfortable with what you desire. You know, it's not. I think just being really almost blatantly honest with yourself and taking the necessary steps to recover that honesty, because I feel like that honesty is sometimes dug underneath of expectations. Martha was writing in the chat that it's so hard to detach from expectations, even from ourselves. So it's like that honesty of what we need from ourselves, of what we need from others, of what we want, is dug underneath so much, so much. So yeah, just that's the word that's coming to mind: honesty.
Mm. Um, I love the idea that people are people, not projects, and the extension point for me is what are the projects in my life, and if the projects in my life of like what I need to work on is another person, it means that in some ways I'm also neglecting and abandoning myself, because really the things that I should be trying to achieve or do or move towards need to revolve around my own self development. Um, and if it's revolving around somebody else, that means that there's something I need to retrace my steps and adjust. And so, thinking like, what's taking the majority of my time, my mental energy, my emotional energy. And if it's worry or anxiety about another person, doesn't mean that that's bad or needs to change necessarily, but it does mean I need to just kind of assess if that's really appropriate or healthy, you know. And so I appreciate that just kind of assessment about where is the majority of my time and my mental energy going towards, you know, and if it's about another person, then it's probably not healthy for me or them. Hmm. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Love you all. Glad to be back together. Please be well. Take care. And look forward to seeing you guys all again tomorrow. Bye bye.